Hello and welcome to Midnight Scribe's Creative Vibes, where we speak to the best of the bronies and discover what makes them tick. Now, although this won't be apparent to you lovely listeners, it's actually been a fair few weeks since I've done an interview for Creative Vibes. I'm feeling a bit out of it personally, and it's definitely fair to say that my interviewing skills are rather rusty. Unfortunately, Equestria doesn't have an equivalent for WD-40. So to help get me back into the groove, I knew the person I'd interview next had to have some energy, sass, humour, a hyper-personality. And despite all my best efforts, my producer wouldn't allow me to interview myself. Said something about keeping my ego in check. But however, we did get the next best pony. My guest tonight is a live streaming artist who has made his name on the Tumblr circuit, being the creator of the Daytime Noon Ask Tumblr, aside from his usual pony art projects. He has also done fan art of me, so frankly, I've got nothing but praise for this guy. My ego always likes a boost. I'd like to welcome Hyper Bronies to the show. Hyper, how are you doing?
Thank you, man. It's a pleasure to be here, man. By the way, I just wanted to also make another, well, I wouldn't say correction, but like add to the mod list of blogs. I technically am the mod of Ask Hyper Brony, which is my main blog, where I draw random things and do other stuff like that. But that doesn't really matter because now you know all the blogs I run.
Oh, don't worry about it. Listen, look, get those links in at the beginning because we do it at the end as well. So you listen, if you're going to be on the show for half an hour, cram in as much promotion for yourself as you can. Honestly, go for it because that's what I do whenever I'm on the NBS show with Norman. I just constantly mention Creative Vibes as many times as I can because I don't get charged for it. So you might as well go for it.
Yeah. Well, it's a pleasure to be here. I'm glad to be able to talk to you. This is really exciting for me.
Oh, definitely. It's great to have you on, Hyper. I mean, it's obviously, like I said, I've been a bit out of the thick of it for the last wee while because obviously I haven't done interviews for a wee bit. So we appreciate you coming on, and hopefully you'll have a good time here. Hopefully you won't find this too nerve-wracking.
Trust me, I don't think I'll find myself nervous. Besides, we're like in computers talking to a mic with no one around.
You are right, actually, yeah. I mean, there's nothing to worry about. My house is actually empty right now. Usually I've got the parents like in the next room going, what is our son doing with his life?
Oh, yeah. Well, basically, my parents would just yell at me because I'm yelling, like, because I'm too loud. I'm, like, a really loud person. So I try my best to contain myself.
Well, feel free to have free reign over the show because this is all about you. So feel free to be as loud as you like. It's absolutely...
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, go for it. Be as loud as you like, because you ain't going to compete with me, Sonny.
Oh, I tell you one thing, boy. You think you got yourself some talent there being yelled? I back in my day, I was like the loudest person ever. People back in the Eurasian region could hear me all the way from America.
Listen, I don't care, Sonny, about what you did over in America. I'm from sunny Scotland. I say sunny, it is sunny today, but no any other day. So I'm going to be as loud and as happy as I like, and you can do nothing about it.
Oh, yeah? Well, you can't contain my enthusiasm from your statement because I am just super happy right now.
Oh, shucks, I absolutely love the fact that you're so happy. And I have now offended probably half of America with the world's worst American accent there. I do apologise to either the southern or northern half of America, whichever side's more offended. But I tell you what, we should probably talk a little bit about yourself, Hyper. I mean, I don't know where to start. I mean, because obviously you've got your two Tumblrs with Hyper Brony and with Daytime Noon. And Daytime Noon, actually, when I was researching it, I found quite interesting. Firstly, just because of the name, which, with a name like Daytime Noon, I'm sorry, but I do think that sounds like, one of those sort of morning talk shows that you get on cable. Just like, you get some nice cheery tune like do-do-do-do-do. Hello and welcome to Daytime Noon, coming out tonight.
Funny story how that name came to be. What happened was I was in a live stream with my good buddy Stylus and another Tumblr Ask blog by the name of Solofire, and we were doing a multi-stream. I was streaming, and Solofire just happened to be in the Skype call, and I was trying to say Nightmare Noon, but then I already messed it up. I said it backwards. I was trying to say Nightmare Moon, but then I said Nightmare Noon, and then she was all like Nightmare Noodle, and then and I thought to myself, Nightmare Noon sounds like a reverse like thing with Celestia being Nightmare Moon, but like then I was like, what if I make that an ass blog? And then I thought about the name for a little bit, and then I was like, what's the opposite of a nightmare? And then I just thought daytime, and then I put two and two together, daytime noon, and basically the name came to be because I stuttered and I fail at saying Nightmare Moon.
Listen, listen. Great ideas come out of little things like that, and it's an interesting concept. And you mentioned there about how you came up with that idea when you were doing a live stream. I mean, I know I met yourself through I think it was
Yes.
reliciousness.
I just call it Rolly. I can't pronounce that for the life of me.
I've had him on the show. I should be able to pronounce Rolicious correctly. If I slow myself down enough, I can say his name properly. But yeah, I remember meeting you on the Relicious live stream, and it was yourself and Ro on there, and obviously Sugar Dub, the producer, and myself were there watching, trying to poach some talent for the show.
Mm-hmm.
How have you found the sort of networking process with other artists?
Well, a lot of it is through sheer coincidence. Other times it's I look for other people on Picardo because I'm bored and I just like see who's streaming. But the way I met the Rolicious was through one of my other artist friends who happened to be the mod of Luna Bagel. And I don't know what happened to him. He hasn't been updating his blog for a while. I think he's busy doing video editing because he's been making more YouTube videos than anything. But I met him through that because he was like, hey guys, come check out this cool dude that's live streaming. And this is when Rolicious was barely starting out, at least within on the Tumblr side of things. I don't know. I know he's been drawing for like years, but I mean, it's the first time I've heard of him. And so I decided to visit his stream, and I got myself a free request from him, and he drew Daytime Noon in line art. And then I did my best to like help support him. I reblogged some of his stuff to promote him because I liked his art. It was wacky, goofy, and it had pretty nice shell shading. Because I'm a sucker for bold lines and shell shading because I think stylistic art styles are way better than realistic ones. But that's just my personal taste. And then it got to a point where he invited me to his multi-streams. I was like, oh, that's so cool. I get to multi-stream with him. And so then occasionally when I have the chance, if he has a spot open, he'll be all like, Hyper, want to multi-stream with me? And I'm all like, sure. And then I go multi-stream with him. I draw whatever, whether it be an update for my secondary blog, my main blog, or my followers pick, which I'm currently slacking on because I'm piling a bunch of projects on myself because I am good at priorities.
Oh, listen, like, I know that far too well. And by the way, nice impression of Ro there you slipped in the middle.
I wasn't even trying, but thanks.
Listen, it's all about the enthusiasm of Ro. I mean, he does throw in 110% into everything, for sure.
Mm-hmm. He works hard, and I appreciate his hard work for that.
Well, so do you. I mean, like you mentioned, you pile projects onto yourself like nothing else. I mean, obviously we've talked about Daytime Noon. There's the Hyper Brony page as well, and of course there's on that you've actually got a storyline going on with a character called is it Rillin?
Yes, Rillin is the Griffin.
Griffin. Thank you for confirming Griffin, by the way, because on my notes I've got Griffin/bird pony ?
Yeah, the reason why it's specifically a griffin is because it has the lion legs in the back. And there are those who mistaken it for a hippogriff where they put pony legs in the back instead of cat legs. And, you know, it's a common misconception. It's understandable because the way I drew Rillin, like before I started getting better at griffins, was like almost pony style. And actually, funny thing, the reason why I created Rillin was because I wanted a Griffin OC so I can like get good at drawing Griffins. And so originally she was just purely there for me to practice on drawing Griffins, but with my own OC so I can add a bit of my own style to it without having to try to go for like a Gilda recolor or something, you know?
Well, I suppose whenever you're wanting to do art, you want to give your own creative spin on it.
Yeah.
I know for the Rillin story, like you've done, I think, 5 entries so far that have been sort of building up, and about this friendship tale between Rillin and Hyper Brony. But yeah, I mean, I've read the last 3 entries in the story, and I'm just curious to see like where it's going. Because for those who haven't read it, I mean, it seems to be a friendship tale between Rillin and Hyper Brony, and reminiscing about how they first met, and it seems to be progressing into the household and all the rest of it. I mean, where do you see that story going?
The reason why I wanted to make this backstory was to answer the story of why Rillin is stalking HyperBrony and what is the purpose of HyperBrony within Equestria. Because originally, when I made my main blog, HyperBrony was just my pony Sona. He was basically Mod Pwn the Ass blog, as I like to dub it. And I wanted to actually do a little bit more than that with my pony Sona. So what I did was I am basically a self-insert character into Equestria, but the Tumblr and the computers are kind of a thing in Equestria. That's because the way I put it, it's like set in the distant future of Equestria. And when Rillin and HyperBrony are kids, that's when, like, in terms of the timeline of Equestria, that's when Twilight became a princess, like just became a princess. So I know I haven't exactly explained that in my blog, but I plan on like implying those like through like the background and stuff like that. Because I like to have like the story kind of seamlessly flow within the history of Equestria without blatantly stating it. Because if I was to have my character go, oh, by the way, did you know that Twilight became a princess? How cool is that? And then out of nowhere, just like have another conversation that would just like be immersion breaking in my eyes. So I try to go for the subtle effect when it comes to lining up the timeline with the Equestrian canon.
Oh, definitely. I suppose as a writer, it's always that balance between trying to get in the background that you want without making it completely unsubtle.
Yeah. And it's a struggle trying to make that work properly without getting a few confused heads about it. Because a lot of people have asked me about, like, what does the cutie mark mean for HyperBrony, for example. The cutie mark is actually a Greek symbol of creativity, specifically the black symbol, not the orange backdrop. The orange backdrop I added there so it wouldn't look as awkward on the flank. And the reason why I have it be the symbol of creativity as a cutie mark rather than something specific is because I personally myself do not want to be tied down to a specific talent. I believe that I have a lot of ideas in a lot of areas, mainly to do with within the media industry. I have a lot of creative ideas that I like to put forth in like movies, books, video games, songs, video game OSTs. I just like to dabble my fingers in everything. There's no stopping me from trying out something. And I may not be the best at one thing, but I like to say I'm pretty well-rounded in a lot of things. And that's where the idea of the cutie mark came. Because originally, the cutie mark was just like a pencil, a game controller, and like a film reel all mashed together in one. I thought that looked absolutely awful. And so I changed it up and decided to find like symbols of creativity on Google. And then I found the Greek symbol of creativity, and I felt that fit best. So it's like nice, simple, and it gets to the point.
Google coming to save the day again then.
Yep.
Because I was going to ask you about it, because having a Greek cutie mark is a bit out there for cutie marks. I mean, when I was looking at it initially, I was staring at it going, why has he got a candlestick as a cutie mark? And I was looking through the Tumblr going like, I'm looking for the butcher and the baker just to see if I can see the whole lot.
Yeah, I'd never fully like described that in like the ref or whatever. So I think it would be good to do that later on, like have like a description of the cutie mark, because I know a lot of people when they first see it, they're like, "What is that? What is that even supposed to be?" And I have to describe it to them and explain it, and then they get it.
But it's quite an interesting cutie mark to have. I mean, you're mentioning there about how you've got a variety of talents and you don't necessarily want to kind of tie yourself down to just one, you know, and you've kind of generalized it. It reminds me actually a fair bit of Tyrion Dagger. Because I'm great friends with him. I interviewed him for the last season of the show, and he hasn't got a cutie mark as of the moment because of the fact that he isn't quite sure where he's going to go with it, and so and he's quite happy not to have one at the moment. So it's quite interesting to see how their real life situations, I suppose, affect the cutie marks that their OCs have.
Yeah. Personally, I did not want my Pony Sona to not have a cutie mark because I know what I am, and I know what I do is basically dabble my hands in whatever I can, and I just personally don't believe that. Well, I mean, for someone else, if they want to do a specific thing for their rest of their lives, that's fine by me. But I personally can't stand the thought of doing like the same thing for the rest of my life. I want to always explore and experiment and try new things, and I just felt like I know there's like a way to put it into a cutie mark without it being like mashing a bunch of different symbols and putting it into one bottom. And so I just came up with that, and it worked out pretty well for me. And for those out there who feel the same as me and want to make a pony sona but don't know what to put the cutie mark in, just try to look up some sort of symbol of creativity, something that represents you in what particular area you want to do, but it's not too specific either, just in case anyone happens to think like me.
Oh, listen, there'll be plenty of people out there who think like you, for no doubt. I mean, if there's one thing I know about the community, is the fact that there are plenty of like-minded people out there throughout the community, and and the Brony community in itself is quite an interesting creation. I mean, what do you think of the fandom itself?
Honestly, the fandom has probably been the best thing that's ever happened to me in my life. Mainly because if it weren't from the Brony fandom, I wouldn't be drawing as much. Or actually, I wouldn't be drawing at all, period. Because there was a point in my life where I stopped drawing for some reason. And then that was the time I was also making YouTube videos. And I found out through the fandom through YouTube poops. And it was during like the very latter end of season 1. And I saw a bunch of My Little Pony YouTube poops, and I'm just like, why is this popping up all over the place? What is this? Is it actually any good? Because like from what I saw, even through the YouTube poops, surprisingly, I kind of saw some good animation and some good writing in there. And I thought to myself, why not just check out like a legit episode and see what? Let's just start from the beginning. It's episode 1. I initially thought I was gonna watch at the very least 3 episodes and be bored with it, but then like I did an all-nighter on like all the episodes till the season finale, and I'm just like at like 6 a.m. getting ready to, like my mom's up because she's getting ready to wake me up to go to school, and I'm just like, I watched the entire season in one night.
Oh.
I can't believe it. I was just like, I was at awe that I completely watched the entire thing. I was like, do I legitimately like the show, or did I zone out through all of it? I have no idea. And then after that, when I came home, I came to the realization that I actually did find enjoyment in the show, not because of like the colorfulness, but more because I feel like the writers had fun writing the characters and how they interact with her. There was a sense of like giddiness and glee to the way the characters interacted to each other. And I just appreciate that in writing, when like you're writing something that's pretty goofy, but you're still going to go along with it, and it just leads to really good writing, in my opinion. It's very heartwarming, and of course the episode has some episodes have their problems, but what show doesn't really have problems in their writing? It's impossible to make a perfect episode. And then from there, I became a passive participator of the fandom, if you know what I mean. Basically, I did not actually actively made fan art of the show or drew anything. It wasn't until after the second season when I found out that the Tumblr was a thing and that Ask blogs were a thing, Pony Ask blogs to be specific, and a few that I saw were really, really cool. Like Ask the Console Ponies was a particularly inspirational blog that I found because the art style was like really close to the show, but it wasn't that close. It still had its own unique take on it. And the funny thing is that even though the blog's like long gone, people to this day are still like kind of stealing the art and like tracing or using bases off of it, which I've talked to the mod herself about this issue, and she says she doesn't even care. She's actually quite flattered that people still do it to this day, even though like she's long gone in terms of the pony side of arting.
Well, it's great to see that's how you came to become a fan of the show, doing it all in the one-nighter and discovering the fandom through that and through the YouTube poops and so on. I mean, do you happen to have a favourite pony or episodes that you have, or are you quite a general lover of the show?
My favorite pony in terms of the main 6 is definitely Twilight, because I relate to her the most out of everyone. Probably a second would be Pinkie Pie and Rarity. They're kind of tied. But the reason why I relate to Twilight the most is because out of all my group of friends, usually, no matter what group I'm in, I'm kind of like the unofficial leader of the group. And that's how kind of like Twilight is before she became a princess. She was kind of like the unofficial leader. People asked me for my opinion on things, or what they should do, or what are we going to do this weekend. I had to kind of coordinate and plan some things, as much as to my dismay, because I like to be lazy. And then where I relate to Pinkie Pie the most is I like to be energetic, as happy as I can for the sake of others. and I like to be as friends with as many people as I can. And of course, I'm going to make some enemies regardless of what I do, and it's just a fact of life that you have to kind of accept. But I'll just do my best to keep a smile going no matter what the situation is, and I always try my best to lighten up the mood, even in the saddest of situations. And as for Rarity, I purely relate to her on a creative sense. I actually despise fashion, so like in that aspect, I can't really relate to her because I just find fashion, for the most part, superfluous, and it just kind of like it angers me when like it's like when someone makes a new skirt and it's approved by someone people regard as a high opinion, and then everyone goes buys that skirt. It's like I guess it's more rooted down to trends. I don't like a lot of trends because people do it for the sake of doing it rather than doing it because they like it. Like if I like for example, I like the meme Shia LaBeouf meme because it actually has meaning to it. The do it, just do it. It's because it's supposed to be inspirational to people who are like down in the dumps or in an art block or a writer's block or a creative block in general. And it's just supposed to be a goofy, funny way to get people back in the flow of things. And of course, that spiraled off out of control. It became a meme and trend, and some people despise it because of how repetitive it is, which is understandable. But I personally still like it because it has something to it. And a lot of fashion and clothes, like, yes, people work hard in making something look nice in terms of clothes. But at the end of the day, in my perspective, I'm just going to wear what's practical and what's comfortable for me. And I just don't like fashion being shoved in my face because I have a mom who wants me to look fashionable as possible, and that's why I despise fashion.
Well, that's fair enough. I mean, here in Scotland, I've yet to find a shirt that can actually fit my wings in it. So until I find one of them, I'm really scuppered, honestly.
Mm.
There's no store in Scotland that has it.
And as for favorite princess, I like Celestia. And as much as people will be all like, no, Luna's better because she actually has character. There's a lot of, for Celestia, as much as they don't really go into depth of her character, because she, in terms of the show, she technically has no character, but there's a lot of implied subject matter with the way, like, her position in the show. She lived for thousands of years. She had to exile her own sister, and she had to basically put up with the fact that people will come and go, and if she get attached to any normal pony, she knows that they're going to have to, like, you know, leave to the other plane, to put it lightly. And there's just a lot of like deep subject matter that, of course, the writers probably won't be allowed to go into because, you know, Hasbro runs the whole show and all that. And some of my friends despise her because of the fact she has no character and will not refuse to like ever accept her just because they will not give her any extra character. Until they actually do give her a character in the show, then they'll like them. But I like Celestia because I also just like the sun. I am a huge sun lover.
Praise the sun!
I praise the sun! I'm just like... I like to consider myself a lizard because I get cold real easily and I hate the cold. And I love the sun because it keeps me warm and nice.
Oh, definitely. I mean, I can't live if it's less than 23 degrees in my house. I need it to be warm. I need it to be proper warm. That if someone else comes here, they're going to go, man, it's warm in here. I want that reaction, like, kind of like a wall of heat. I want them to go in. It's just like, oh, the heat.
If you think that's pretty warm, though, over here in California, we have like 30 to 40 degrees Celsius weather, and if you convert that to American terms, that's 90 to 100 degrees Fahrenheit.
Fahrenheit? What is this mysterious symbol thing that you've told us? Fahrenheit? Strange.
Well, it's this thing in the land of the great that we use, and no other country uses it because we're the stubborn ones and we want to do our own thing.
Oh, the land of the great? Oh, you mean Canada? Watch me now, as I've now totally angered the Americans. I do apologise. Also worth mentioning, this will ultimately probably get cut.
I should have said the land of the free. Darn.
Well, listen, if you said land of the free, I would have said Scotland, so you were scuppered either way. I had you trapped, man.
Hashtag wrecked.
Hashtag you never saw it coming. Hashtag final destination.
Oh man, don't even get me started on those movies.
No, I won't. I'm not actually. I don't think we're really allowed to talk about it because they're rated 15 and we're a Universal show. We have to talk about nice, cuddly, fluffy things, like yourself and me. But no. Genuinely, we've actually nearly run out of time, Hyper. But honestly, this has been a blast of an interview. I mean, have you enjoyed yourself?
Yes, I do enjoy hearing my own voice and rambling on for hours and hours on end.
You and me are so alike. We both like the sound of our own voices, and we're both good at talking. This is a match made in heaven.
Oh man. I will have to say though, I do have like this social limit. So for where like after a while, I just feel like stop talking, and it's really weird. But other than that, I'm fine.
Oh, no worries. Well, I'll give you one final question before you're allowed to shut up fully, which is, well, firstly, thank you for coming on the show, Hyper. It's been absolutely fantastic having you on. But where can we find you on the internet if we want to see more of your stuff?
All right. Well, I have my main Tumblr, which is the Ask Hyper Brony, which is basically kind of like my mod/story blog. Don't worry though, I don't do any like crap posting or anything like that. It's mainly art and or reblogs of fan art or my story arc. And then my secondary blog, which is all about the post and the story updates, is my Daytime Noon blog. And then I also do have a YouTube, but I don't have any consistent work on there. I just mainly post either testing material or random stuff, or sometimes I do a comic dub. I haven't done one in a while, actually. But recently I'm working on an MLG montage video for another game that I play a lot with my friends, and that is Smite. And so if you're interested in that dank stuff, then you can go follow my YouTube as well.
Of no worries. And what we'll do is we'll put all those links in the description below so you'll be able to see all of HyperBrony's stuff and go and see what he does and follow him, like him, subscribe to him. Send him much praise because he is like me and he has an ego, so please go feed it. But my thanks to HyperBrony for coming onto the show. My thanks to you guys for watching, listening to this. Honestly, it's incredibly appreciated. If you want to find us, of course, well, we're the Highland Bronies. We can be found on Facebook at facebook.com/Highland Bronies, or on YouTube on the very channel where you're watching this video right now, which is youtube.com/Highland Bronies. Our videos for Creative Vibes are there, along with a couple of odds and ends of various videos that we're doing. And if you want to get in contact with us, our email's there. We can also contact us through the Facebook page. Of course, the final word from Midnight Scribe is, as always, please subscribe.